This is why we planned beforehand.
Zach, we're back.
We're back. We had conflicting notes about what the last video was.
Conflicting notes is a great way to put it. What you mean is I told you we were doing something and you went forward under that assumption. How could you not know I changed my mind without telling you?
I was trying to not put the blame on anyone, but if you're gonna take it, like by all
Oh
means,
my god.
that'll be that whole thing about the Kentucky Derby will be a very, very fun outtake for patrons.
Oh, some people say that there's a theory to blame. Uh Zach, instead of that, and you're gonna have to, if you want to hear my bit about crocodiles at the Kentucky Derby, you're gonna have to go over to Patreon for that. In the meantime,
I'm on Team Cheetah.
I have a I have a list here of a bunch of spooky things. This is going to
Ooh.
be all the spooky things that happen at the Nightfort.
I'm excited because there are many spooky things that happen at the Nightfort.
I was doing a different video. I was doing a script for a different video and I got distracted by this one and it sounded like fun. This is going to be a relaxed sort of thing. You know, we're not going to take it too seriously. We're just going to talk about some of the creepy myths and occurrences around the Nightfort. We're just going to, just going to breeze through them.
Maybe we'll find a theory along the way.
Yeah. Like, you remember the Patchface Prophecies Roundup?
Yeah,
It's kind of like that.
We touched on a couple theories in that one.
Yeah. All right, Zach. Do you want to start or should I?
No, you go ahead. You've got the list. I want to see some of the things that are tickling your brain.
All right, I have a lot of things that I could write down. I'm just gonna go in no particular order. You ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Starting in the center, Hodor had heard all the stories before, but perhaps Jojen hadn't. And I'm gonna put that one dead center because I think that's a good place to start. Right, we'll start there. That's good. Like that sort of contextualizes all these. These are all stories.
Yes.
Let's see. How about we start with one of the ones that everyone has heard of? Quote, "Sing the song of the rat cook." Wyman Manderley. Yeah, and you know what? I'm actually going to shrink you because there's going to be a lot of stuff on this page by the time we're done. Are you on the screen? You are. We're going to do that, and then I'm going to grab this, and we're going to say rat cook. Does that look okay? I don't like that. I don't like the way that looks. Zach, tell us about the rat cook.
The rat cook cooks people. He violates guest right. He cooks people and serves them as a meal and is forever cursed to become a rat. Well, actually, I think he is also sort of rat-like beforehand. I haven't reread the story of the rat cook in a while, but we know it's a story about guest right and cannibalism, and it's played during the Frey Pie incident.
Yeah. I have a couple of pleasant quotes here.
It's also the plot of Ratatouille if you boil it down to two words.
Yeah. That song that plays when the food critic he like gets the ratatouille and it like zooms in on his brain and he has the memories of his childhood. That song that's playing is the song of the rat cook.
I was right. He was cursed to become a rat. He wasn't one originally, and he has a very interesting curse where he can only eat his own young.
Yes.
Which is weird and gross. It reminds me of that painting of Saturn eating one of his kids. That's also weird and gross. And there's the term eating your young is a common thing used in certain industries. It's used in politics. It's used in like history. It did talk about like older generations stopping the success of newer ones because it would potentially lead to them declining even slightly. So that's an interesting thing.
I had never thought about it that way, but yeah. Under the sea, I'm going to write this right down. quote, under the sea, the old fish eat the young fish.
Yes, and that's a classic story of the politics of ice and fire. Is that some of these people who are leading these squabbles, Tywin, Balon, uh, they are from a bygone era, right? The world that Tywin Lannister like grew up in is just super not applicable to Westeros as we know it right now. For
Uh,
starters, there's no Targaryen kings.
they are the knights of summer and winter is coming.
Yes.
Interesting. Very, very interesting, Zach. Now, I meant to say this at the beginning of the recording, but I got distracted by the fact that we started a different video. Um,
Yes.
we're gonna try to keep this relatively short. I'm thinking 25 minutes.
Excellent will be just like the 40-minute patch face video where
Yeah,
it's an
to
hour.
something to that tune. We're gonna say 25, 28 minutes, something like
Okay.
that.
Well, we'll aim for that. I'm sure we'll really make it work.
Can I give you a quote about the rat cook?
Please give me a quote about the rat cook.
Quote, Bran did not like the shadows either, or the huge brick ovens that surrounded them like open mouths, or the rusted meat hooks, or the scars and stains he saw on the butcher's block along one wall. That was where the rat cook chopped the prince to pieces, he knew, and he baked the pie in one of those ovens. And then later, Bran thinks, at least it's not a meat pie. He's just been served a fish by Mira. At least it's not a meat pie. The rat cook had cooked the son of the Andal king in a big pie with onions, carrots, mushrooms, lots of pepper and salt, a rasher of bacon, and dark red Dornish wine. What a morbid food description, by the way.
Yeah.
Then he served him to his father, who praised the taste and had a second slice. Afterward, the gods transformed the cook into a monstrous white rat who could only eat his own young. He had roamed the Nightfort ever since, devouring his children, but his hunger was still not sated. It was for murder that the god. It was not for murder. I'm sorry. It was not for murder that the gods cursed him, old Nan had said, nor for serving the Andal king his son in a pie. A man has a right to vengeance, but he slew a guest beneath his roof, and that the gods cannot forgive. Guest right is the theme of this one.
Yes.
What a scary tale.
And people have violated guest right in the story, the phrase, and that's why Wyman Manderley makes the pies and why it all fits sort of thematically together. Like Rat Cook, the song, like that they sing about him, is not only just about like the serving of human flesh, but it's about betrayal. It's about betraying the rules of guest right that every lord agrees to, which is exactly what the phrase did at the Red Wedding.
You know, I've never thought about. Do you remember Gargan the Guest?
No.
Story of Gargan the Guest. He was one of the reasons that the Lord's right to the first night was outlawed, because he made a
Oh yeah.
habit of visiting all of his like vassals on the nights of their daughter's wedding. Frankly,
Yeah.
um, and I had never thought about that tale in terms of guest right. What an
Yeah.
interesting perspective that kind of is, that makes it so hard to refuse a person like that.
Yeah. Guest right has implications. Someone being your lord or your lady or your liege has implications as well. Like when it also reminds me a lot of vampires need to be invited into your house sort of thing.
Ooh. Yeah.
Like there's a code of honor even amongst like deceptive evil creatures. Because like I don't know what happens to a vampire if they try to enter your house. And most ones I read, like they literally like there's just a magical barrier stopping them from going through.
Yeah, they
Right?
kind of physically can't.
Yeah. I describe myself as a vampire often because like even if I've known somebody for like ever, I'll still like knock on their door before coming in. Uh, yeah, I It's so curious. Like the rat, we could just do an entire video about the rat cook, but I presume there's a lot more.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, let's move on. And if people want to see like full videos on any of these myths, go ahead and tell us. We'd be more than happy to. This is one of my favorite settings in the whole series.
It's so like wonderful for a place we haven't spent all that much time that there's so much lore that happened there.
All right, Zach, hit me with another one. What you got?
We have the face that you can speak to.
Oh hell
The
yeah. This I'm gonna try to put like near the center, the sort of confirmed things. The Black Gate. This we know, and I'm gonna put another one right here, but we might save that for a little later. Because that one gets a little bit more tinfoily. Zach, tell me about the Black Gate.
the Black Gate is one of the more obvious signs of weird magic in Westeros that like everybody seems to be aware of. And it has a face of sorts. It is unrelated to the Black Gate from Lord of the Rings, maybe. Or
I mean,
it is.
maybe it's also in a haunted castle.
Yeah.
Black Gate, big weirwood face that talks to you, bottom of a well. What else?
Uh, it lets you through. It is like a voice activated like passageway. You need to give your Night's Watch vow, otherwise it won't open up.
Yeah. It opens to the Night's Watch oath, but it's implied that it can like tell, you know?
It speaks to you. The door asks, "Who are you?"
Yeah. That thing freaking talks to you. What kind of trippy shit is that? What is that? What is that?
Yeah.
We don't talk about that enough, Zach. That it's a. I listened to the chapter today when I was getting ready for this. And Sam describes it as getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it's only the lips of the mouth visible and the rest is a tunnel.
Yeah.
It doesn't open like two sliding pieces of stone like National Treasure. It opens like something organic. It's terrifying.
Yeah, you are walking through a living thing, and that like it's part of the Nightfort. It's part of the wall. It's kind of recontextualizes the wall as almost like a semi-organic thing. To bring up the obligatory Star Trek thing here.
Yeah.
There's a couple. They mentioned a couple times. There's an episode of Voyager where they find a ship like this, and then in that Voyager episode, they mentioned the Breen have ships that function similarly, of biomechanical contraptions where it is machine, but it is made of living parts. It is constructed, but it's constructed in the same way one might construct an artificial organ, or maybe not so artificial organ. And with a speaking, moving face that like doesn't open like a contraption, but opens like a mouth, it kind of recontextualizes the wall when you think of it as an ecosystem ? A being ?
Is some like an entity? Is it
Yeah.
alive? And also, like I want to touch on this right here, right? This bit right here. You like the symbolism is not lost on me that you must be consumed. You must be eaten to enter the wall.
Yes.
And like ugh. That's creepy. That's very creepy. I don't like that at all.
No, I'm not a big fan of that either.
Let's see. Do I have anything else about the Black Gate? I don't think that I do. I think that's about all I got for the Black Gate. Do and maybe you can fact check me on this. I seem to recall somewhere way back in my brain that the Night's King sacrificed in front of the Black Gate. or is that like theory stuff that just slipped into my brain?
I hold on. I can look that up real quick. I think the Night King is pretty tied to the Night's King rather, but uh
Yeah.
he made sacrifices. I don't know if it was at the Black Gate or not. But
All
um
right. Well, we'll
it
why
is
don't we
it is
why don't we
another
do him
story that
next?
Bran knows. So and when is that? What chapter? Hold on.
That's
Oh, it's brought up in
Brent.
the same chapter as the Rat Cook,
Oh
the
yeah,
Mad Ant.
that's the
This
chapter I
one where they're
listened to
at the Night
today.
Fort.
It's
Yeah,
extremely good.
yeah, that is Bran at the Night Fort in Storm of Swords. I'm gonna say, at the very least, if they don't say it outright, they say it in the same breath in a way that kind of implies that it happened there.
Yes. Okay, you ready? We were just talking about him. How about Night's King? Yes, all these ancient legends brought down from old Nan, who has proven to never be wrong. The Night's King and his corpse queen. This story rocks. Get over there. Yes, perfect.
This
The
chapter has so much going on because that's also like the first time Cold Hands and Bran mate.
yes, it's also one of the first times. It's also the first time that Bran wargs Hodor and has an understanding that he shouldn't be.
Yeah,
He describes it as like trying to fit a your right foot into your left boot, but your left boot resists, which is pretty
unsettling.
fucked up actually.
Yeah, very unsettling, very
That's
fucked up.
that's not good. There's some personal agency fuckery there that I don't care for in any way. But we'll come back to
Yeah.
that. Uh Zach, tell me about the Night's King. Oh
Well,
no.
it's a very long time ago. We can tell because it's the 13th. He's the 13th Lord Commander. We're currently in the 998th. 999 as soon as somebody is elected after John.
Yeah, we
Rest
are
in
no
peace.
longer on the 998th.
Uh, yeah, so he is a dark figure who cut some deals with the others. He fell in love with a white-skinned woman who is probably an other, or maybe a white, or but probably another, or maybe something else we don't fully understand. But
Yeah.
it's commonly accepted that he was working with the others. He fell in love with another, and he was the first, like I don't know, Lord Commander to be compromised by them, perhaps.
Here
Uh,
I'll give you the quote. Glimpsed a woman from atop the wall, with skin as white as the moon and eyes like blue stars.
and it's kind of implied by Old Nan that he was a Stark and that his name may have been Brandon.
Yeah, I got that quote too. This, by the way, this is Bran for A Storm of Swords. One of my favorite chapters in the entire series because of these things that we're talking about. Honestly, go listen to it right now. It's extremely good. Go read it. It's fantastic.
It's a damn good chapter, yeah.
You want the quote? I got a couple of good quotes. I have like a whole good passage for this one. Okay. And I'm going to pause in the middle a couple of times because we're going to talk about some similarities to other things in the series. You ready?
Yes.
The gathering gloom put Bran in mind of another of Old Nan's stories, the tale of Night's King. He had been the 13th man to lead the Night's Watch, she said, a warrior who knew no fear. And that was the fault in him, she would add, for all men must know fear. A woman was his downfall. A woman glimpsed from atop the wall with skin as white as the moon and eyes like blue stars. Now, hold on here a second. I would like to point out that describes a lot of individuals in the series.
Yes.
That could describe, like, frankly, that could describe what, Stannis Baratheon. Honestly,
Yeah.
right? That could describe, who else has blue eyes? Um, uh, blue eyes and auburn hair is Sansa, so someone from Catelyn's bloodline. Uh,
Yeah.
it has some interesting lineups to the Tales of Bael the Bard, to Dany's dream about a flower growing, a blue flower growing in a field of ice, I think it is. Uh, uh, it's an interesting statement that is her description, because, like, superficially that sure sounds like an other, but it could describe other things in the series. Uh, Fearing nothing, he chased her and caught her and loved her, though her skin was as cold as ice, and when he gave his seed to her, he gave his soul as well. That, Zach, is a wildling wedding ritual, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
The others seem to follow the same wedding rituals as the wildlings. Yeah, that is very weird, actually.
That's kind of weird. He brought her back to the
That's
Nightfort.
forcing that sentence to be entirely accurate and not at all metaphorical, but yes.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Uh, uh, uh. He brought her back to the Nightfort and proclaimed her a queen and himself her king, and with strange sorceries he bound the sworn brothers to his will. For 13 years they had ruled, Night's king and his corpse queen, till finally the Stark of Winterfell and Joramun of the Wildlings had joined to free the Watch from bondage. After his fall, it was found that he had been sacrificing to the others. All records of the Night's King had been destroyed, his very name forbidden. I'm going to write that down. His very name forbidden. Boop. Extremely cool. Some say he was a Bolton, old Nan would say. It would always end. Some say a Magnar out of Skagos. Some say Umber, Flint, or Nori. Some would have you think he was a Woodfoot from them who ruled Bear Island before the Iron Men came. He never was. He was a Stark, the brother of the man who brought him down. She always pinched Bran's nose then. He would never forget. He was a Stark of Winterfell. And who can say? Mayhaps his name was Brandon. Mayhaps he slept in this very bed, in this very room. What
I
the
like this
fuck is all? What the
implication
fuck is all that?
the implication for Old Nan that it's Bran's bed that is the source of his time traveling powers. It's a little Donnie Darko. Uh,
Wed, bed, behead, Night's King, Night Rider. Go. You thought that was a bit. Go.
Behead them all.
Okay. All right. So we got some stuff to break down in there, right?
Oh, for sure.
And then to cap it off, Bran thinks no, but he walked in this castle where we'll sleep tonight. Hoo boy. Hoo boy. 13 years and 13 years is 13 years in the 13th Lord Commander is very interesting. That seems to me like it's kind of fanciful, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see. Joramun, the same Joramun of Joramun's Horn, is the one who took down the Lord Commander? That's interesting.
That's especially because Jorah Zorn has magic powers as far as we're aware.
Maybe the Night's King, maybe the Corpse Queen was the last other after Joramun and the Starks took out the White Walkers. Maybe she was the last one and tried to, like, reestablish a hold in the realm. You
That
know,
could be it.
like Sauron. She was the last. You know, there was one more hiccup of power for like 10 years, long after the actual war was over.
Yeah.
Let's see. His very name forbidden. That really screams to me that his name was Brandon Stark, right?
Yeah, if his name is like etched out of the records and they were said never speak of him,
Mm-hmm.
like it was because the name was going to come up again, right? Like it was a name that you're going to run into very commonly. Because if it like, he was like an anomaly, I feel like unless there was like a pressing reason to not say his name, they would have just uh let the name be said.
Yeah, because
But
he's the
Starks has,
only person we've like expunged from the record.
yeah, like the Starks have a very close and important relationship with the Night's Watch that goes back as far as recorded history does in Westeros. The saving the embarrassment of the most common Stark name being the name of the guy who possibly, brought the others back from the brink of extinction, who betrayed them, who did sacrifices to, or betrayed the Watch rather, who made sacrifices to the others. That saves you a lot of embarrassment if his name is just forgotten.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Maybe, maybe, maybe time traveling Bran can only like reincarnate into people named Brandon. And if he didn't expunge that name from history, Brandon goes out of fashion real fast.
Ooh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like that's the I was gonna say like whenever there's a horrible historical figure, usually you see a downtrend in that name as being popular in
Yeah,
the area
you'll note
to the
that
point
there's
where we get to
for sure, right? There's some 20th century names that fell out of fashion at a certain point.
for sure, definitely.
I have on the other side of that bit. I like the idea that Bran can only like reincarnate into people named Bran, just like Merrick from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged can only mind control people named Steve. So he gets a
Little Karibo got
character.
his
He gets
copy
Joey
of
Wheeler to legally change his name to Steve.
I
And
forgot about
then,
that point.
in a wonderful piece of attention to detail, Little Karibo continues to have Merrick refer to Joey as Steve for the rest of the series.
It's incredible.
Yeah! Is it time for a Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge rewatch? You know that show's still coming out?
It is, and it's crazy to me. I think Dragon Ball Z Bridge is done, right?
Yeah, I
Like
think they ended at the end of the Cell Saga.
yeah, they got to the point where they wanted to end it. They're not going to do the Boo Saga. I would love if they did the Boo Saga, but
Busaga was my favorite.
yeah. Uh, well, I don't know. They're doing other stuff. It's really good.
Hey, 25 minutes. 25 minutes.
25 minutes. How long are we at?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I want to talk about one more thing with the Night's King,
yeah, please.
which is the when we talked about Branos, time traveling Bran, and all that. I made the speculation that Bran is playing a chess match with an older version of himself.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like that take, by the way.
that uh, I think like the Night's King could be the pivotal moment we see from like his perspective that changes his mind, right? Like he is going back and doing all the things he needs to uh, in order to make sure that humanity wins the first time around. And then he like years later is in the mind of that Bran Stark, falls for this other woman and realizes he's wrong.
Yeah, he
So it's not like
remembers the
a false
time
agreement.
50 million years ago, 1,000 iterations ago. He remembers being in the position that the other Bran was, and he's like, "Oh, I get it now."
Yeah. And then he goes to undo all of his great work.
Oh,
Or terrible work,
what
depending
a
on how you
what a
put it.
nihilistic perspective that is.
Yes.
I
Uh
love it.
yeah. He rips apart the war he won. He starts everything in motion uh to protect or to keep an oath to somebody he loved, sort of like his father, or sort of like Jamie, who said the things they do for love when he pushes them out the window, right? Like it's kind of baked in to Bran's story. Uh, Out of love and honor and keeping an oath, Ned lived his entire life in such a fashion and died in such a fashion, uh, making sure that nobody knew who's John's
Oh,
real parents were,
holy,
and
holy shit. Okay,
and
go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
and
I got a
the
pitch.
same thing that and the same thing that led to Bran activating his powers in the first place was somebody saying the things I do for love and then pushing him out of a window. It'd be kind of perfect if the entirety of Dream of Spring was Bran uh, dedicating his life to a cause out of love for somebody and a promise he may have made to them.
Okay, ready?
Hmm.
Bran A. Uh, uh, Bran Prime, let's say, is the Night's King now. And he has been going through this for so long. He is the Night's King. He is rebelled. He is jaded. Uh, his brother and Joramun come to take care of him. Right? They come to knock him off
Yeah.
his throne. Bran the Night's King says the things I do for love, and throws his twin brother off of the top of the wall.
Ooh.
And then takes his clothes and pretends to be him, goes back and lives out the rest of his life as the Stark of Winterfell, and buries his White Walker other wife in the crypts of winter underneath Winterfell.
I like it. I like it a lot.
The bottom floor has the Corpse Queen and the Night's King in it.
That's kind of incredible.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
We know there's
Good.
a lot of important things in the crypts. That's another great, like, if we're going to do a location that has a lot of lore in it, the Crypts of Winterfell deserves its own video also.
I love that idea. But in the meantime, how about I just throw out another myth here?
Go for it.
Man, some of the scary ones. Oh, some of the scary ones. How about this one? This is one of my favorite. How about please become 14-point font. Boop, boop, boop. The thing that came in the night. That's such a horrifying name.
Yeah.
That name, like, that name
It's
gives me
your
the
love.
heebie-jeebies. That's some good writing right there. Are you ready? Quote:
Yes.
The apprentice boys saw all of it. The apprentice boys all saw it, old Nan said. But afterward, they told their Lord Commander But afterward, when they told their Lord Commander, every description had been different. All three, I'm sorry, and three died within a year, and the fourth went mad. And 100 years later, when the thing had come again, the apprentice boys were seen shambling along behind it, all in chains. That was only a story, though. He was just scaring himself. There was no thing that comes in the night. Maester Lewin had said so. If there had ever been such a thing, it was gone from the world now, like giants and dragons. It's nothing,
Uh-oh.
Bran thought. Noises in the dark.
I have bad news about the status of giants and dragons in the world.
Oh, bad news bears.
I mean, I guess good news for giants and dragons if they're still alive,
Mm-hmm.
but very bad because that really, really implies we'll be seeing the thing that comes in the night. It really does imply it.
Oh man, this one gets me. This one gets me. Um uh uh four four apprentice boys saw it. But they all gave different descriptions. Isn't that odd? Isn't that
Yeah,
interesting?
it was so incomprehensible.
Now hold on. I read that different than you did. You read that as it is incomprehensible, so they all said, one said it was a nightmare, one said it was hell made flesh, and one said it was indescribable. I
Yeah,
read that as one said it had horns, one said it had fins, and one said it had wings.
and those are all correct statements.
Or they're all wrong statements. Uh, you read that as the thing that came in the night is indescribable. I read that as the thing that came in the night is a shapeshifter.
Ooh. Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah, the thing that came in the night is a grumpkin.
Yeah.
Indescribable shapeshifter. Indescribable feeling, rolling, tumbling, freewheeling on a copyrighted strike.
The more we lose,
Don't you dare close your eyes.
the more we sing, the more likely Disney will tag this vid and take our cash.
Gonna need a whole new take with you. Once again, I am asking for a supercut of the Interesting Nerd Club singing.
Well, like Clips channels are popping off in the algorithm right now. You could easily pull it off.
Yeah, there's
Just
some money you can make there. I'm not gonna copyright claim it. I think it's funny.
Yeah, we're far too lazy to do that.
Quote, Mad Axe had, this is by the way, in this scene Bran is the only one awake and Sam is coming up the well, but Bran doesn't know that. He thinks there's something coming up the well. Whatever it is, it's huge, Bran thinks. Mad Axe had been a big man in Old Man's stories, and the thing that came in the night had been monstrous. Back in Winterfell, Sansa had told him that the demons of the dark couldn't touch him if he hid beneath his blanket. But he almost did so, but he remembered he was a prince and almost a man grown. This is a good transition to talk about Mad Axe.
Yes.
I have him in here somewhere. Where are you? I'm so sorry. 14-point font, please. Mad Axe. God, this is such a cool setting because of these things. Everything that happens at the Nightfort is terrible.
Yeah, there's no story of like everybody going to the Nightfort and like bringing a 6-pack of beers, playing some board games, and having a good time.
Butchered his brothers in the dark. Like, my God, it's almost got like a sinister thing going on, you know? Like, anyone who is there goes crazy.
Yeah.
But there might be other ghosts in the Nightfort, Bran thought. Ones even more terrible. He remembered what old Nan had said of Mad Axe. How he took his boots off and prowled the castle halls barefoot in the dark, with never a sound to tell you where he was except for the drops of blood that fell from his axe and elbows, and the end of his wet red beard. Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
God, that's scary!
It is quite spooky.
God, that's scary!
He's a bad man with an axe, but he's sneaking up. Nobody knows he's there until he's right there.
Takes his shoes off? Who takes their shoes off to kill somebody? That's so scary. My God.
Maybe it's another gaslight thing where they're like, you know, can I come in? Yes, take off your shoes.
Look, I'm gonna kill you, but I did take my shoes off before coming into the living room.
Oh, it's very thoughtful of you. Yes, please. Oh my God, I'm being axed to death.
Oh, watch the ferns. Watch the ferns. They're
Oh,
3 years
sorry.
old.
Sorry about that. All right, I'm gonna
No,
go in for another swing now.
no, it's okay. The iron is actually good for them. Whack. uh Wet red beard. Now, reading this now, that definitely reads like his beard is wet with blood. But when I first read that, I read that as he has a beard that is red,
Ooh,
kissed by fire and such.
yeah,
I don't know if that necessarily tracks. I don't really think that it does, but I like, that's fun to think about. Maybe he's a
it
Tully.
is. He could be a Tole.
Maybe he's a Giant's Bane.
Yeah.
Wait, wasn't there a King Beyond the Wall was red of beard?
I'm forgetting which one, but yeah, you're
Was
totally
that
right.
is like Armin Redbeard or something?
Yeah,
Uh,
and we don't know exactly what happened to Mad Axe, right? Like, he could have just fucked off.
no, that's one of the cool things about this setting is almost nothing is revealed about any of these.
They're just haunting little stories that, other than like the Night's King, who we have some like understanding of how that played out. Like the Rat Cook's still just wandering the halls, right? Like maybe Mad Axe is still just wandering the halls, also.
Yeah, like they the Nightfort is described as a haunted ruin. Haunted means haunted.
Yeah,
It's not the upsetting ruin, it's the haunted ruin. Haunted by the ghosts of your deeds? Yeah, maybe. Also haunted by the stuff that's there.
yes, correct.
Haunted by some guys. Here's another good one. You ready for this? The become bigger, please. Boop boop. Oh shoot. The tunnel of Arson Ice Axe. Arson Ice Axe was tried to tunnel under the wall, but was discovered by a patrol from the Nightfort. They were sealed inside. It said that you can put your ear to the ice and still hear them screaming. Wait a minute, hang on. Maybe I misquoted this, because I also on this list have Gorm's Way. Gorm was another king beyond the wall, who learned of passages under the wall, and he got south of the wall and was caught in a pincer move between the Starks, the Umbers, and the people from the Night's Watch. So he retreated back into the tunnels, but got lost in the tunnels. John tells us about. I'm sorry. Egret tells us about this in the famous cave scene.
Yeah.
Interesting. The
There's
tunnels.
Arson Ice Axe is like a fictional name you adopt for a metal band, by the way.
Nice. What's up? I'm Arson Ice Axe. Jimmy, the dinner's ready. Mom, I told you to call me Arson when my friends are here. Sorry, she just doesn't get it.
That's funny.
In the comments below, give me more amusing phrases that Arson Ice Axe would deliver. Gorm got lost under the wall. Arson was sealed in. And here's a quote from that cave chapter, which I also read today. Quote, you can still hear their children and their children's 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 children crying. John asks, has anyone ever found this secret tunnel under the wall? And Egret replies, some have searched for it. Those that search too deep find Gendel's children, and Gendel's children are always hungry. There's naught to eat in the dark but flesh. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Holy
they really dig
shit.
into the cannibalism, the murder, and the uh, consuming humans part of the Nightfort. Because
Again.
there's also the human sacrifice, and the Black Cat eats you.
Yeah. It's real. It's a real horror show up there, dude. Do not visit the Nightfort.
Yeah,
Do not visit the scenic Nightfort. All their tourism materials lie. All their margaritas are half melted when they get them to you. They do not have nearly enough alcohol, and most of them are blood. Fine, I'll just take that bit and run on my own.
no. I was trying to think of how to follow up on it and just didn't know.
All right, Zach, let's talk about one of the other like major events at the Nightfort. The Nightfort's abandonment. This is not spooky, but I think it is relevant. Boop, boop, boop. In 58 AC, Alisan, will you please? AC, Alisan convinced Lord Commander Luthor Burley. What a great name. Is Lothor, I'm sorry. Lothor Burley. That the Nightfort, which she found unpleasant, should be abandoned. And then it goes on to say, for a newer and smaller castle. And this is from the World of Ice and Fire. So this is the other part that I want like close to the center, because this is the other thing that we know happened. Oh my god, I screwed up all of the H's. Zach, do I need to fix this? Do you see that?
All the H's?
I did.
What do you mean all the H's?
This H, and this H.
Oh,
No.
yep. You need to redo that.
What if I just underline them all?
I mean, now it looks like you're typing like Cthulhu speech.
No,
So,
now it looks like Microsoft Word processor has underlined my words. Oh shit. Okay, fine. Boop boop boop. We'll say closed on the order of Alisan. This is Good Queen Alisan, who we know quite a bit about. This is the grandmother of Daemon and Viserys from House of the Dragon. Quote, it is so huge the men seem dwarfed by it, like mice in a ruined hall, and there is a darkness there, a taste in the air. I was so glad to leave that place. That is Alisan to Jaehaerys. Quote, twice as old as Castle Black. Bran said, remembering. It was the finest on the wall, and the largest, but it had been the first one abandoned. Those are... Oh my god, I did it again. Hang on, this one I can fix. L. Shoot, I'm just gonna get that right in there. And get that right in there. Zach, what do you think of this line? What do you think of this whole business with Alisan and the wall?
it's so peculiar. Like, Alisan going to the wall is weird. Her dragon freaked out, wouldn't fly past the wall. Like, there's some strong implications there of magic, of things that freak out dragons, of just all sorts of things. And Castle Black, like, it'd be weird, right? Like, the Night's Watch is somewhere between like an organization, a political entity, I think a lot of the areas that were owned by like holy orders in the Middle Ages, right? Like they had cities that
I think
they
that's a
like.
fair comparison.
Where's the Teutonic Order based out of? Hold on. The Teutonic Order, uh, founded in Jerusalem. They had their headquarters in Germany, though. They had their headquarters was. Oh no, they moved around a lot. But I think for the like longest stretch of time, two long stretch of times, they had one in uh, Melbork, in Marienburg, I think it's called now, or was it Marienburg at the time and it's Malbork now because it was German at the time and it's Polish now. Imagine, if you will, they lived there and then somebody came and told them to leave and move somewhere else, and the reason was it's probably haunted. Like we'd talk about that a lot, wouldn't we? If the Teutonic Order left a city because, like, yeah, uh, a German like queen came by or German like duchess or whatever came by and said, "Yeah, Teutonic Order, I'm going to have to recommend you leave this place on account of it's scary as fuck."
Not only that, I am going. It's this is so creepy. I am going to personally fund the construction of a new castle for you, explicitly, so you can leave this place. Why?
Yeah,
Why? Right? Like why? Here's some weird stuff, Zach. I have just like a general section. Oh, hold on. I wanted to call attention to this. Deep Lake, that was the castle that replaced um the Nightfort. Deep Lake had been paid for by the Good Queen's jewels and built by the men the old king had sent north. So Jaehaerys and Alysanne were in agreement that this is a scary place. They agreed to shut down the Nightfort and build a new place. So the reason that the history books give to us is that we'll just put some like general information up here. The Nightfort is huge, right? This is just going to be a collection of general weirdness about the Nightfort. The Nightfort is twice as old as Castle Black. How old is Castle Black?
yeah. How old is class? Well, we don't have a good like age for any of these things. We know the Night Fort had to be around for the very early Lord Commanders. It's possible it's as old as the wall itself.
I think that it probably is because I have this bit down. Ready for this weird shit? Quote, well, not quote. Uh, there is not a switchback stair at the Nightfort. The steps are carved into the wall. They are steps of solid ice that lead all the way up 700 feet. Some real Lord of the Rings shit, you know what I mean? The secret stair.
Yeah.
And like what? Why? It's twice as old as Castle Black. Castle Black has a switchback stair and a fucking elevator.
Yeah,
The
it's pretty up to date. For I mean, granted, it can be modernized, right? Like New York is older than America, but like if you go to New York, it's like, whoa, why aren't they using horse and buggies from the 1600s, right? But we don't have a very good history of the Night's Watch on the Wall. We just don't know at what point things were added, how long something's been there, other than the little bit we get from like conversations John and Sam have, like Maester Aemon and Gior. But that only goes back so far, and the record keeping is shoddy past a certain point.
for sure. And this is one of the things that really like kind of weirds me out about this whole thing. The Night's Watch has been around for how long, give or take? We assume that it's 8,000 years, right?
Yeah, at the
So,
very least, like Bran the Builder seems to be like contemporary with the end of the Last Long Night. So the wall being constructed by him is something we know. The Night Fort might have been an original fort built on it. We just don't know for sure.
We know that the Night's Watch, at least, has been around since before the Andals came,
Yeah.
which means that we suppose that was 4,000 years ago. Let's go conservative, call it 2,000 years ago. That means that the Night Fort was built 2,000 years ago, and the Castle Black 1,000 years ago, minimum. Why does the Night Fort not have a staircase, Zach? I think it is probably the case that most of the time, the people at the Night Fort did not go on top of the wall.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
Which maybe the night. Well, and again, we don't know like exactly like the circumstances under which I don't know if we have like a direct like the wall was built like right after this part of the Last Long Night, or like it's possible there's a little bit of an overlap, right? And maybe they didn't go out because the Night Fort was actually less scary than everything around it at a certain point, right?
Oh, that's a good
Like
point.
it's the last vestige of a scarier world, and uh to us going in there is terrifying, but to them that was a refuge. Like only one friend going crazy and trying to murder you, only one thing that like nobody can properly describe, uh only one leader gets corrupted. Like for them maybe that was pretty good odds.
I got a bit of a why that I think we've touched on before, but is certainly relevant here. Um, Bran says twice as old as Castle Black. It was the finest on the wall and the largest, but it had also been the first one abandoned. That was not that long ago. The Night's Watch is 8,000 years old. Alysanne visited the wall 240 years before the start of the series. And the Night's Watch went through full decline in those 250 years. Between at max, they had 19 castles open. They went from 19 castles to 3 in 240 years. Of 8,000, that's what? 10%, 2.5%, give or take, 2.5% of the total in the most recent 2.5% of the Night's Watch being alive. They lost 16 of their 19 castles. Something about that ain't right to me.
Yeah, yes. It's a that losing a castle's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be losing a bunch unless something catastrophic is going on.
So what's going on?
Uh, very hard to tell.
I got some more weird shit. You want some more? This isn't scary so much as it's weird. Okay, we're doing weird stuff now. We'll get back to the scary in a minute.
Yes.
Bear with me. The Tunnel of Arson Ice Axe, abandonment. Okay. The we're gonna call this the War for the Wall. Boop. I have just made that name up. You will not find that if you search for it. Click. Click. To my knowledge, this event does not have a name in the fandom. Correct me if I'm wrong. In 300 years before Aegon's conquest, the commanders of Nightfort and Snowgate went to war. What is that? What the hell? Everything's weird at the Nightfort. The commanders of Nightfort and Snowgate went to war with each other. What the hell?
Yeah, the Night's Watch, like, I mean, I don't think it specifically says in their oaths don't go to war with each other, but it's pretty implied.
Yeah. It
I
says they
haven't scored
both
in the
lost their
darkness.
heads at the hands of the Stark of Winterfell, which is always interesting. You know what else is interesting? I looked up the timeline, and some other stuff happened 300 years before Aegon's conquest, Zach. That was when the Valyrian Freehold founded Dragonstone. 314 BC. Now, granted, 14 years is a bit of a swing, but also Old Nan isn't known for her exact bookkeeping. I don't know, man. Some weird's going on with the timeline of the Night's Watch. I'm skeptical of it. You want to get back to the creepy now?
I, I'm just struggling to piece it together. I'm trying to think in my head what the explanations can be, but there's just so much baked into the history of the Night's Watch. It like deserves its own book almost, but I think it would spoil too much of what's going to happen in the Winds of Winter and Dream of Spring. But like the Night's Watch has had like multiple people deposed, multiple instances of like like Night's Watch violence, and we know only so many of them. And even the ones we do know details of, it's very few. Like we know about when they sent too many of the Faith Militant up there was a lot of problems, but we only got that 'cause of Fire and Blood, and even then that wasn't the focus. We got maybe what 6 sentences total on that.
Yeah. All the stuff in the series is tantalizing. Here's another weird thing about the Night's Watch. Boop boop. There were cells enough to hold 500 men. But when Bran took hold of one of the metal bars, it crumbled to dust. Let's start with a brief. Oh shoot! Dang it. Okay, you talk.
Uh, uh so, yeah, I don't even know what to say, but like it's so like weird. Just all the things that are there that aren't there. Uh, it doesn't seem to have any like time period technology like constraints. Like stairs have existed for a very long time, probably longer than metal bars. I'm not sure about that. Somebody with history knowledge can hit me up on that. Pretty sure we had stairs working before we had prison cells working. Like, God, there's just so much. This is a very dense video. I'm having trouble digesting all of this on the screen right now.
It's really weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why does this fort have cells for 500 men? What do you need cells for 500 men for? Do you anticipate having 300 captives at a time? Under what circumstances do you, as an apolitical organization, have 300 captives? Do you have 300 deserters at a time? Maybe this is as good a time as any to talk about the 79 sentinels. I'm sure people in the comments have been shouting at their screen. The 79 sentinels. We'll put you down here. The creepy just keeps on rolling with this place. Let me scroll up to them. Where you at? The thing that came in the night, 79 sentinels. 79 deserters who went south to be outlaws. One was Lord Riswell's son. So when they reached the Barrowlands, they sought shelter at his castle, but Lord Riswell took them captive and returned them to the Nightfort. The Lord Commander had holes hewn in the top of the wall, and he put the deserters in them and sealed them up alive in the ice. They have spears and horns, and they all face north. The 79 sentinels they're called. They left their posts in life, so in death their watch goes on forever. Years later, when Lord Riswell was old and dying, he had carried himself to the Nightfort so he could take the black and stand beside his son. He'd sent him back to the wall for honor's sake, but he loved him still, so he came to share his watch. God, that's scary.
Yeah, yep. There's there's so much in this 25-minute video, and it's hard to get through all of it.
It's wild that we made it through this, and we're only like 19 minutes into the video.
We're only like 90 minutes in, yeah. Just,
D-
yeah.
Deserters.
79 deserters who abandoned their post at the Nightfort. It's always at the Nightfort.
Okay,
And
here's
this is another one where this is another person, much like Arson, who is like said to be stuck inside the wall. That gives it more of like this biomechanical like hybrid thing. Like I can only imagine them being like combined with the wall at this point, right? Like
yeah,
they've been there
completely
so
melted
long.
in.
Yeah. That they're either like caveman frozen, or they are like still in there living as some sort of weird being that is just as much part of the wall as any of the ice and snow is.
This is another
Which is
one.
gross and creepy and weird.
It's another story that has like weird family shit. Right? It's one of the deserters was Lord Risewell's son, so they went seeking shelter at his castle. It doesn't say Lord Risewell turned them away. It says Lord Risewell took them captive, which implies to me that he gave them guest right and took them captive.
Yeah.
His own son. There's a lot of parallels to the Rat Cook. Boop. Guest right. Weird family shit. Betraying your children. The things I do for love. I don't know.
Tom, I think our brains are thoroughly melted by the spookiness at this point. I don't know if there's anything else we can go through. I'm trying to connect all these together, and it's just too much.
Hang on, I got more.
All I can really pull from this is the Nightfort is scary and don't go there.
The Nightfort is scary and don't go there. I have like 3 more that are not nearly as like. Well, some of them aren't as crazy. They're all kind of fucked up, but none of them is as in depth as these. Ready? We'll rapid fire them. We have Danny Flint. You know the story of Danny Flint.
Yes.
It's one of those parts of the story that is really quite horrible. This is a quote from John. It is not their fathers who concern me. We're talking about women being allowed to serve as hostages from the wildlings. Tormund says, John says, did Mance ever sing of brave Danny Flint? Tormund says, not as I recall, who was he? And John says, a girl who dressed up as a boy to take the black. Her song is sad and pretty. What happened to her wasn't. And then, outside of the quotation marks, John thinks, in some versions of the song, her ghost still walks the Nightfort.
Yeah, she's still there. That's just another ghost we can add on. I see why you said this is almost like a roundup video. This is like a Ghosts in the Nightfort roundup, or things that cannot be described as human anymore in the Nightfort roundup.
We'll say, I'm going to use this turn of phrase because I'm going to talk around what happened to Danny Flint because YouTube doesn't like it, but you all know what happened to Danny Flint. It's real fucked. I'm going to say brutally murdered.
Yes.
Another ghost at the Nightfort, brutally murdered. For no reason. This was the seat of the Night's Watch, right? This was the seat of the Lord Commander. This happened under the Lord Commander's watch. What the fuck?
Yeah, it seems like being the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch is not like we might have got a sample size with Jor and John that leads us to a much more, I don't know, positive light on the Night's Watch than maybe we should get. Because they're like, I think of like different periods of leadership of different countries and how like radically somebody at the top can change the culture underneath them, especially in like an organization. Like if we're going to talk about like the like successor to uh like medieval orders, actually I guess we don't need to. Like someone who led like something like the Teutonic Order, Holy Order, or something like that, had a lot of leeway to control what its people were doing and where they're at and like how they followed through on their mission. It's not hard to imagine like a leader of a holy order saying everybody around us is an infidel, and the best way to make there to be fewer infidels here is just go out and kill them, right? Like
Yeah,
there's plenty of examples of that throughout history, quite unfortunately.
kill them all
It's
and let God sort them out.
yeah, exactly. uh that you can kind of read that into some of these older commanders of the Night's Watch that are more brutal or more murderous, or that just weird things happen under their watch that you couldn't see Gio or John doing. uh that's unsettling because maybe that's where the story goes, right? We don't know who the next Lord Commander is going to be. In the show, it's Dolores At. I have my doubts that that's how it's going to be in the books, specifically because he says he doesn't want to be the leader. But
I would
I
make a terrible Lord Commander, but so would all these others.
yes, uh, maybe we get somebody truly like questionable as the Lord Commander. I mean, who knows? Like Stannis is there. Maybe that's like maybe he takes the vows, or they make an exception. They've certainly made exceptions before. After all, you're supposed to take no wives, and the first person we talked about, the Night's King, well, the second person we talked about, did take a wife, very famously. But we don't know. Here's another thing with the timeline. We don't know what if the oath has ever been edited throughout time, or if it came before the 13th Lord Commander. We might be on the 18th version of the oath. They might have said, "Yeah, okay, wives, not doing that. Children, no good."
I like the idea of referencing the 22nd Amendment to the Night's Watch Oath.
Yeah, oh yeah. All right, guys, we have one more amendment to the Night's Watch oath. No kids. Yeah, I know. Look,
All right, I'm not.
it's
I'm
not
not. I'm not signing in. I'm not agreeing with no kids unless we get a tax break.
the great
Fine.
compromise.
Fine. What about take no wives?
Okay, that's fine, because then if somebody shows up here with one, I guess they're good, but somebody's going to interpret that differently. Whatever. You know what? We'll put it in, and we'll argue it later.
It says take no wives, not take no wife. It means I can't have two. Uh,
I'm only bearing a single arm, thank you.
Zach, I want to talk about fucking hellhounds.
Let's talk about hellhounds.
Bran says Simeon Star Eyes, who is blind, by the way, saw hellhounds fight at the Nightfort.
Jeez.
What the hell does that mean?
We think we're running out of things that could be at the Nightfort that are terrible sounding and we don't have a lot of information about. You'd think we would have run out by now.
Zach, I have to ask you a question.
Yes.
Is your computer on your chest?
Maybe.
Damn it. It comes through so clearly. The clicky click is so clear.
How unfortunate. My computer did just freak out for a second.
Oh my god. All right. And finally, we have King Sherritt's curse. Laid down a the Nightfort is where King Sherritt laid down a curse upon the Andals just after the Andal invasion. Zach, there is no House Sherritt. Such a thing does not exist.
Yeah.
I saw a video. I seem to recall a video talking about a theory about maybe it was one of the like Eastern First Men houses, like so the people at Duskendale or somewhere in the Vale, somewhere near Runestone, maybe. Someone speculated that this King Sherritt, it might actually be a mistranslation. It what do we call that when a name gets wrong over the course of history? We have a name for that, right?
Oh goodness, yeah. Did I forget what it is? Unfortunately.
Well, where it's actually like House Short instead of House Sherritt.
Yeah.
And this is like the the grandson of the king of House Short, who managed to like spirit his like daughter and grandson away, and maybe they landed at the wall or something. Um, but I don't know. What I do know is it's kind of weird that there's a king at the Night's Watch at all, still calling himself a king.
Yes, because you're supposed to all titles, unless that was an amendment to the oath at some point. You used to be able to go as a king.
Wear no crowns and
And
win no glory.
yeah, but
And he seems to be trying to do both.
yeah, exactly. Which is peculiar, and this is another instance of information might have been intentionally changed or forgotten or lost. Like, we know that like a name was struck out from the histories. This makes the whole like historiography of trying to learn what's going on with the Night's Watch, like, again, I believe that's the correct term, the study of the history, like impossible, right? There's so much misinformation and disinformation baked in, seemingly on purpose, by the Night's Watch.
I just realized that there's. Oh, you're right. You're right. Like the name being wiped from the Night's
Yeah.
King.
They have intentionally fucked with the history so that you cannot learn it properly.
Bran, what are you doing? Why you do this? I just realized that there's even more weird family stuff. Gendel's children are always hungry. There's naught to eat under the ice but flesh. And of course
Maybe
the Night's King, um the brother of the very king who slew him. Because Old Nan speculates that the Night's King is the brother of the Stark of Winterfell.
yeah. Maybe here's a wild thing.
You make my heart
We
sing.
have Bran do that, like his he first realizes like the warging of Hodor is not like a really great thing at the Nightfort. It's where he meets Cold Hands. We were talking about all this before. Maybe like Bran gets some sort of like psychic connection. This is his palace of his mind or something like that. This is where like his powers are potent, and maybe he is able to not just control. Maybe it's not just time traveling. Bran can wake up in the body and mind of every Bran Stark and switch in between. Maybe it gets a little more even like weirder and esoteric and Lovecraftian than that. And the Night Fort is Bran's fort, and those who stay there for too long start to become his subjects. And maybe that's why some people are losing their minds. They only are in control of half of it.
Holy shit. Maybe you're right. The Night's King, maybe it used to be, maybe Bran the Builder built the Night Fort and it was originally called like Bransgate or something.
Yeah.
Shit, that actually kind of tracks. Maybe the 13th Lord Commander was Bran the Builder.
Yeah, or like a descendant with the same name. Maybe sort of like Craster's Keep. It was just a place owned by somebody out there who the Night's Watch had like a relationship with. They're like, okay, we can go over there because we like it was their base of operations, but it's unclear when that started. We know it stopped under Alisane. If there's anything else before, it's easy to speculate that it was the original like base for them from the beginning. But again, the history is fucked. It's been rewritten intentionally, and also it's old and is atrophied. There's so much going on with it that you could hide. Like this is where you can hide a forgotten historical figure or some sort of a like thing in the shadows. Is when the history is a mess.
Think about it this way. Just bear with me for a second.
Yes.
You said it's like Craster's Keep. Maybe you're right. If we, as like members of the Night's Watch, if we all agreed to rename Craster Asshole, and we started referring to Craster's Keep as Asshole's Keep,
That's a good name for it.
6 generations from now, people would not remember that they would not necessarily remember that Asshole's Keep is named for the historical figure of Asshole, especially if
Yeah.
Asshole has like been like warped through time.
And if you don't write it down, like we know Istanbul used to be Constantinople because there's a ton of writings about it, right? Same thing in New York and New Amsterdam to reference another lyric from the same song. But
What
like
song?
we know that not because like people have passed down an oral history of it, because books tell us so, and people have that history well constructed. If there was no way to pass it down, nobody in New York would know that much about what happened hundreds of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not super relevant, and a lot of history has happened in between that's more relevant. Uh, and who's to say that we have the original name of the Knights for it? Yeah, we don't have the original name of the Knights King. We don't have the original name of most of these people. I doubt his name was the Rat Cook. It would have been oddly fitting if his name was like Rat Cook and then he turned into a rat after cooking someone. He probably had a real ass name.
What, last name Cook? You,
Yeah,
you have the
first name
Starks,
Rat.
the Norries, the Stones, and the Cooks.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh my God! There's a video playing in my pocket.
Oh no.
It was a video on the Nightfort. I just saw another lineup. Um, Eyes like blue stars lines quite well up with Simeon Star Eyes.
Yeah.
Simeon Star Eyes, who was blind.
This all kind of fits into like, in you have that theory that they're gonna start like running out of food and eating people and sacrificing people and doing Lord of the Flies stuff
Yeah.
in the night fort during the long night. Uh that kind of fits with the long night has some sort of magic, maybe Bran influenced ability to get inside your head. And it's very Lovecraft also, a place where you hear whispering in the night, where your mind starts to deteriorate, stuff like that.
This is, we talk about Euron a lot, but this is, I think that this is for sure the most Lovecrafty setting in the series. Like, look at this thing. Look at this freaking thing. This could be the title of a Lovecraft story. 4 apprentice boys saw it, but they all gave different descriptions. God, that's scary.
Yeah.
Rapid fire now. Quote, sometimes Summer would hear sounds that Bran was deaf to, or bare his teeth at nothing. For a
And that's
moment, Bran thought he heard something moving, thrashing about in the water. That's just after Hodor dropped a stone into the well. Maybe you shouldn't stay here, he said. By the well? Asked Mira, or in the Nightfort? Yes, Bran answered.
it's another thing of like ghosts apparently allegedly making noises, interacting with inanimate objects, and animals being able to perceive them. Like those are famous like bits of folklore about ghosts and the dead and spirits and all that.
Right, like summer is magic. What is summer smelling? The wind made a nervous whistling sound as it shivered through the broken towers. The keeps groaned and settled, and he could hear rats scrabbling under the floors of the great hall. The rat cook's children running from their father. Once Summer came back with a gray rat between his teeth. The rat cook, thought Bran, but it was the wrong color and only as big as a cat. The rat cook was white and almost as big as a sow. What a horrible nightmare that sentence is. Also, that's great writing. The wind made a nervous whistling sound as it shivered through the broken towers. That's just great writing. And finally, I think this is the last thing I have. Finally, Jojen wanted to go poking down there. They're looking at the deep, dark tunnels under the Nightfort. Jojen wanted to go poking around down there, but Hodor said Hodor to that, and Bran said no. There were worse things than rats down in the dark.
Worse things than rats. And one of the things we know down there is a rat.
Yeah, we know that's one of the famous bad things down there.
This place is known for its rats that you shouldn't encounter. And there are worse things than that.
Rodents of unusual size.
Maybe the Nightfort is a stop on the New York subway system that explains why the rats are particularly dangerous.
You know, I was trying to get that. I was trying to form the same joke. I was going for this must just be Jersey.
I mean, the rats in the New York City subway system are afraid of nothing. They'll just run underneath an oncoming train and come out fine.
They don't hate you. They know that you're just visiting.
Yep. You are paint to them. You are part of the background.
You are paint to them. I just want to look at this tableau for a minute.
That's what I've been doing this whole time. Outside of the only epiphany I had is that Bran could be connected to all this and it would make perfect sense, but only if Bran's powers are far more dark and Lovecraftian than we've assumed. But I happen to believe that. So
man, everything with Alysanne is weird, right?
Yeah, it's hard for me to just say I think I've solved it because there's no answer in my mind that satisfies all of this.
Man, the 79 Sentinels, are we gonna get it just doesn't seem to fit for us to get zombie bowmen defending the wall. That just doesn't seem like that's some real Harry Potter shit, and this is not a real Harry Potter series.
I'm gonna throw some German at you here.
Okay. Is that putting a little English on it?
Berg, my German pronunciation is terrible, so I apologize to all the Germans. Bergentracken. Have you heard of this before?
Bergentracken. That's when you try to hit a Burger King, a McDonald's, and a Wendy's all in the same 4x4 pickup truck within an hour.
No, it's
fuck you.
I couldn't follow that up, so I just rolled right past it. I'm sorry.
All right, fine.
It's German for mountain rapture. It means the king asleep in the mountain. The ancient hero from days past who went and hid himself away in a secluded place that's hard to get to.
Okay.
My mind keeps going back to that concept. Technically, if you want to point out to an example that's already in A Song of Ice and Fire, Bloodraven kind of fits that mold perfectly.
Yeah,
Bran travels a perilous path to find an ancient and powerful figure who has hidden himself away somewhere. Not in a mountain, but in a cave in a place where nobody lives. This tableau is scratching that same itch for me, right? This is a place where things that should be long forgotten have hidden themselves away.
Oh,
and it feels like that's just as natural a part as Bran's story as Bloodraven is.
Things that should be long forgotten. Man, what a cool concept. There's another thing that I just wanted to write down while I remembered it. The Nightfort has a library. But Bran finds nothing but dust there. So they took all the books, huh?
Well, that's one theory, right?
Right. I'm not saying that the Night's Watch wouldn't necessarily take all the books, but they're not the most literate.
Yeah, well, a maester would have taken them, but there's also another possibility there, which is they destroyed them.
Ooh.
Maybe the dust is the books. It's the ashes.
Wait a minute. You keep rolling on that. I'm gonna go find the passage.
It's like, it's when there's dark knowledge in a piece of media, it's a common trope of people to destroy it. They want, in Lovecraft, there's a lot of people who want books destroyed. Uh, there's an argument that some of them probably should have been. I think one of my favorite pieces of horror, Marble Hornets, when he first gets the tapes in the beginning, he asks Alex what he should do with them, and he says, "Burn them." Uh, like, it's just sort of like one of those classic things, like, and we've seen it too with them striking names out of history. If there's something so dark and inconceivable that you can't have anybody like anywhere near it, human minds, human eyes can't be put upon it, you want it destroyed. In the newest Indiana Jones movie, they do that too. Indiana's friend wants the Archimedes dial destroyed so nobody can ever use it. All that can do is time travel, but like that's still very, very dangerous.
All right, I got the quote here. They spent half the day poking through the castle. Some of the towers had fallen down and others looked unsafe. But they climbed the bell tower. The bells were gone. That's in parentheses. And the rookery. The birds were gone. Beneath the brew house, they found a vault of huge oaken casks that boomed hollowly when Hodor knocked on them. They found a library. Open parentheses. The shelves and bins had collapsed. The books were gone and rats were everywhere. Very offhanded, huh?
Yeah.
Very offhanded. They found a library. That's it. Outside the parentheses, that's the only part of that sentence. They found a library. The shelves and bins had collapsed. The books were gone, and rats were everywhere. Extremely cool. You mentioned Bloodraven. That's what actually made me think about this. Bloodraven is the sort of person who I think would go hunting for ancient libraries.
Yeah, oh, for sure. He would have hit that up on probably one of the first things he did when he came to the wall, right?
Yeah.
Investigating weird ancient shit. I'm going to go to the Nightfort. I'm going to see what books they have. I'm going to take any that I find. Which means that if he doesn't have them, I know who does.
Wait, say that again?
Which means if Bloodraven doesn't have those books, I know who does.
Bowen Marsh?
No, somebody who may have studied under Bloodraven before Bran showed up.
No. Surely you're not asserting that on his way out of Bloodraven's secret cave, Euron made sure to take a wagon of books.
It seems like something you'd do.
It kind of does, actually.
Euron's the kind of guy who would try and learn dark and powerful magic from somebody else, and he'd be like, "Get out of my house," and he'd be like, "Wait a second, this guy's a tree. I'm stealing all his shit."
Yeah, he's the kind of guy who would come back.
Yeah, I'm taking everything that doesn't have roots.
What do you think of Euron, like, sailing out of there in, like, a canoe through the dark?
That would fit.
Honestly. Loading Dark Sister and all of Bloodraven's books into a little weirwood canoe he carved in the bottom of Bloodraven's cave and sailing out of there. Washing up, I don't know, maybe under the Nightfort. Under the Nightfort in the well. Because we know the well has water in it. It continues down further than Sam and Gilly showed to everybody.
Yeah.
That's kind of a fun theory, actually.
It is. Man, there's so much. This still doesn't explain everything. This whole stream takes a lot of explaining.
Yeah. Zach, is that our show?
I think so.
All right. Please, if you have connections between these things, tell us. If you want to talk about these things more, come hop in the Discord or send us an email. In the meantime, Zach, tell me your favorite nightmare at the Nightfort.
Out of all of these, like, I like the story of the Rat Cook, but like the one that lives rent free in my head is the Night's King, because the information we do have is enough to paint a picture, but it's not enough to paint a pretty detailed picture. And it feels like it's the most important. It feels like it's the one that we're going to come back to.
Yeah, that's the one that matters for sure. Right, the tunnels of Gorm and Arson Ice Axe, I think are interesting and probably relevant. Um, but the Night's King is the thing that is going to, right. Someone in the main story is going to embody the Night's King.
Yep. It has to be paralleled, or if not paralleled, directly come into play. One of the two.
For me, it's got to be this bad boy down here. It's just, man, I don't know what it is. It just gets
That was my
me.
second choice. That's like the most, either the most or the second most straight up Lovecraft thing we have in the story, and the second most we have a sentence on, or the only one that's competing is something we have a sentence on, that we don't know a ton about. Which, granted, this is also pretty much in that same ballpark,
For
but
sure.
it's spooky and weird and really, really, really extra Lovecrafty.
Which one are you talking about?
The church, the small
Oh, yeah.
secretive church of the Bloodstone Emperor. If it is the Church of Starry something.
Wisdom, question mark?
Yeah, Church of Starry Wisdom. Yes, which is itself pulled directly from Lovecraft. Like, that's the only thing I can say is more Lovecraftian than the thing that came in the night, just because it's straight up lifted.
And like the Church of Starry Wisdom and like Yin and like, oh, those big fuck off labyrinths. Uh uh those like have sort of like an academic detachment to them, you know? Where they're terrifying but in an abstract kind of way. Whereas this is terrifying, this is terrifying in a fairy tale kind of way, right? These are things that like friends of friends said they heard actually happened.
Yeah.
Right. This is very Marble Hornetsy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. This is old Nan is saying, "Oh yeah, absolutely, it's true. You can trust me, wink." But then like 10 years later you reevaluate those winks in light of seeing the terrifying door open at the bottom of the Nightfort, and you're like, she was just
Yeah.
she was just kidding about the rat cook, right?
Yeah. The laughing off your friend being scared because he saw something spooky at when he was making his video starts to be a lot less of something you laugh at when you see him in the video and then he appears outside your window later that night.
Yeah, it's it's less funny and more fuck. Right. It
Yeah.
stops being funny and starts being uh-oh. Right, you read your grandfather's diary explaining how he, a psychiatrist, did interviews with a person who was seeing a lady with bright silver eyes standing in the middle of the street in the middle of the night. Right? That's like that is interesting from an abstract academic kind of way. Right up until you see a lady with silver eyes standing in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Then it's a problem. That's why I think that's why I love this. That's why I like Lovecraft so much, because that style of storytelling scares me so bad.
It's the Lovecraft is very good at giving you just enough information for you to scare yourself the rest of the way.
Yeah.
To tease you long enough to unsettle you, but to never give too much away. He's very good at that, like perfect middle ground of giving you just enough but not too much. So the second you know too much about something, it becomes defeatable in some way or escapable in some way. Not knowing if that's possible is scary, and just saying that something is not defeatable or is not escapable straight up is boring. And then like, oh well, I'm screwed. Like, it's that small sliver of I might make it away with some of my mind intact. It really hits it right for me.
Right. There's a difference between 770 individuals were lost when they were routed and driven back into the caves under the ice. In total, 200 pairs of boots, 100 pieces of armor, and 70 weapons were recovered in the aftermath. There's a difference between that and Gendel's children are always hungry.
Yes.
God, that's scary. All right, Zach, that's it.
Goodbye, everybody.
Oh, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.